I think we're live now, Jordan.
Laugh out loud.
Y'all.
Don't mind us. We've just been talking to ourselves for the last 15 minutes.
I was wondering, I was like, okay, 0 user comments. I can't see the viewers. Like, it literally was scheduled. The countdown went, everything went, and it didn't go live.
Well, good thing. Actually, there was no good thing. Looks like. Well, we're here now. Okay. Hi, everyone.
Do you want to know something? You know how I have been, I don't know if it's because I'm a jackrabbit or if it's just because like USD has like kick-ass women's sports coaches. But obviously, like the first time I interviewed Dawn Plitzowite, I was like shaking in my boots because she's so intense. And she's great. I love her. She was so kind. Like she, she never gave me any like issues with my questions or anything like that. But yeah, I was intimidated. And then the first time I did my volleyball podcast, the very first interview I ever did was Leanne Williamson. We did the whole interview and it was so good, Jordan. The answers were like, I mean, like, I don't want to say spilled the tea, but like, it was everything that like an actual professional sports journalist would want out of their interview. It was in depth. It was phenomenal. Like a 20-minute interview, and that it wasn't recording. And I was like, I felt so bad. And she was so kind about it. And I've not ever had that issue since until tonight. It's been like over a year since that happened, but she was so kind about it and it was fine. But yeah, that was wild. I just noticed that like I couldn't see the viewers or anything. So anyways, we're here. Let us give you a rundown of what we've been gabbing to ourselves about for the past 15 minutes. We started out talking about how we're both super busy and Jordan has little ones and I'm in PhD school and the semester kicked my keister. And also I was doing the volleyball podcast, which Jordan, not to brag, but to brag, I got my second ever NCAA credential this time for volleyball.
Nice. And where'd you go?
I went to Lawrence because that's where Omaha went. And it actually ended up working out for me so well. I had decided that if I didn't get credentialed, I was going to try to get credentialed for the NIVC because that would be easy. And Kansas City was down at Wichita State. And I have family in Kansas City and also east of Kansas City. So I was like, I'm going to go take a mental health trip at the end of the semester, see my family, and I'll just like throw some volleyball in there. Ended up getting credentialed for the NCAAs. And so Omaha was there at KU. Yale was there. And then I have a really good friend who plays for Penn State. And Penn State also got sent to KU. So even after Omaha lost, I just hung out. Made sure I could still get in the second day, hung out and watched Cameron. So that was super fun. But yeah, I was busy doing all of that. So my basketball viewing, I've watched enough to know what's going on and know that the league is different this year. And we're going to chat about that. But yeah, certainly haven't been super, super intense. And I know you have your littles and your cat. So you're busy as well.
Yeah. And like I mentioned on the non-live version of our talk, but I'll mention it on the live version. Full disclosure for Madison, we haven't paid as much attention as we wanted to so far this non-conference season. So what we're going to do tonight is just kind of walk through the 9 teams, what they've been up to, share any interesting stats or that either helps or hurts a team. Madison's got a lot of good insights to the coaches and what a good chunk of the teams have been doing. But just kind of do that work for you so you don't have to look up, who's leading the league in this or where are the teams at in the standings, what's upcoming for these teams. We'll just do brief rundown of the 9 teams, kind of where they're at and what's coming up. And I guess that'll be the pilot episode of season 3 for us.
Season 3 with our 2 live viewers. I'm literally so proud.
Is it counting us as 2?
No, my husband is watching. I can see that he commented, or at least he was watching at one point. And I know I have some friends who said they were gonna hop on. So we're up to 3. Fantastic.
I love you, Joe.
Joe Boston, the man. Okay, let's start with North Dakota. North Dakota's been struggling a little bit. Casey Barovich got hurt a few weeks ago. She is back from what I know. I know Garrett Bruce in our group chat, Jordan is kind of our UND Fighting Hawks guy. So I do want to bring up something that he sent to the group chat. This is a quote, a snippet from an article that was published after, I believe, the loss to Mayville State, which are they NAIA or D2? I can't remember.
I was going to bring this up too, is I don't know which are D2 and which are.
Are they Northern Sun?
Maybe.
Okay, we're going to do a quick little googly. Mayville State Athletics.
I think they are D2 because if I remember some of the comments in the group chat, it was yikes.
Well, people do confuse the two quite often, and that actually is something that super duper bothers me, is people will interchange, they'll use D2 and NAIA interchangeably, and they're not the same thing. Okay, you know what? They played Jamestown on November 2nd, which tells me they're probably not NAIA, because then they would be
on the
in the GPAC. They also played Dort. They wouldn't play two GPAC teams that soon.
So North Dakota's wins have come against Concordia College 80-47, Minot State 82-53, and Eastern Michigan 64-56.
Yeah, those are their only three. So this is what Mallory had to say, head coach Mallory Bernard had to say after the Mayville State loss. She said, quote, "We need to become a team. We need to want to do it for the person next to you, and that does not just mean game day. They're going to have to buy into one another, and it's a really selfless thing to want to do some of the things that we're asking. It's easy to look at a box score and say, I did this, I got this many rebounds, I got this many points, I did this, and I did that. It's quit worrying about I. There needs to be personal accountability, especially on the defensive side. Owning your assignment, knowing what you're supposed to do, and doing exactly that. There needs to be some trust, though, that I do my job and the person behind me is going to do theirs. We need to do better as a team." I don't dislike it.
Yeah.
But that's the heaviest thing I've ever heard Mal say. Like in a presser. Maybe, thank you, Joe, North Star, NAIA. That's the heaviest thing I've heard her say in a presser, with the exception maybe of the loss in the Summit League tournament last year.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Conference play's coming up, and it's a pretty young team overall. And whether that was directed at, I doubt it was directed at any one, but coaches notice tendencies, both inside and outside the locker room. And maybe that's a good wake-up call that the team needs. We obviously don't know. But when we've seen coaches express that before, it's usually directed at the team that, hey, if we want to get to the bar that I've set for you guys to be successful, we've got to start playing more as a team. And yeah, I like it from Coach Bernard. And like I told you, Madison, earlier, they got a couple opportunities here over the next 10 days to really show what they could potentially be as a team and how they bounce back from a couple of these, to be blunt, quite bad losses. They've got Drake coming up tomorrow at noon. If anyone wants a nooner game on a Thursday break, they play Drake, and then they're at St. Thomas on the 29th for a 1 o'clock game. So those are a couple of good competition, good games, show where they're at competitively, and then they host South Dakota State on New Year's Eve at 1 p.m. So a few good measuring sticks before they get into the Big Sky Challenge, which I don't know if we want to run through when we run through these teams who they play for the fans that do end up watching this. But North Dakota's Big Sky Challenge games are January 3rd at Idaho State, and then January 6th they host Eastern Washington, which is a good matchup.
That's a great matchup. Eastern Washington is always a good. I mean, Big Sky wins and Valley wins are always good wins. I don't care if it's a bottom feeder team in either league. Those are the two leagues that we need to win over. For any non-con, purposes that may come up at the end of the year. I do have to bring up, did you read the Big Sky Challenge press release from the Summit League.
I love it. That is so cool.
Okay, so I thought this was a joke. Like, I saw Josh Fenton and somebody else. Josh Fenton's our commissioner, if you don't know. I saw Fenton and somebody else like retweet it, and I was like, oh, this is just like a joke. This isn't real. And then I read the press release. So there are 36 games in the Big Sky Challenge. We have 9 teams on both sides. They'll each play 2 to get 36. I should note, you get a point for winning on your home floor and a 1.5 for winning on the road. So that's how they're going to like calculate this. If at the end of that, we are tied, they will go to a margin of victory as a tiebreaker. If, heaven forbid, at the end of that, we're still tied, Josh Fenton and the Big Sky Commissioner are going to arm wrestle at the Final Four. This is real.
The Final Four. Like, this is the Final Four.
The Final Four. It's real. It's legit. It was in the press release. My only critique for this is freaking phenomenal. I love it. But my only critique for this is, I was telling my husband, I wish that they had just left it like do a 1.5, whatever. Have the arm wrestle at the Final Four anyway and make it worth some weird amount of points, like 12.5 or something. So that like one league could jump ahead of the other based on the result of the arm wrestle. Because I want the arm wrestle to happen. This like second tiebreaker thing after a margin of victory, like that, this is never going to happen.
What if they did a half court shot?
Like, listen, I can't make a half court shot, but like people make half quarters all the time.
Well, yeah, SDSU would know. They seem to go viral every 6 months with a half court shot.
You love that so much. I know. It's your favorite thing about us.
I'm old enough where it's as long as the student athletes are having fun, I don't care what school you go to. That's cool.
Oh, absolutely. I have actually some super important news. I can't believe I was going to open with this. I can't believe I forgot to tell you.
We're live, right?
We're absolutely live. So listen, JD Gravina, head coach of the Western Illinois women's basketball team, who obviously they are no longer in the league with us. I DM'd JD the other day and I said, hey, a few weeks ago I DM'd him when he got hit. I can't remember what number win it was. It was a milestone win. I DM'd him and he said, you're going to be disappointed in me though. I have to tell you something. I was like, what's up, JD? JD Gravina told me that after 8 years as the Celebrity Death Pool champion, he is out of the running to win this year.
Wow.
He has lost. I told him the other day.
Do you have a breaking news sound effect?
I should. I told him the other day, I said, let me know. I texted him to say, let me know when you know for sure that you've lost. And he was like, no, I'm out of the running. Like, there's no shot.
Wow.
So, and on that day, that first day when I DM'd him about his milestone win, I said, I can't be disappointed in you on such a big day in your career, so I'll be disappointed tomorrow.
Shocked, disappointed, in disbelief, frustrated,
sad.
It's
really just sad. It's heartbreaking.
I don't want to undermine the win total, but was it 300?
I do believe it was 300.
Okay.
Yes. I do believe it was 300.
It's 300 more than you and I combined.
Yeah. No kidding. I have not won anything athletically on my own. I've medaled in golf tournaments, but I have not like taken home the gold by myself ever. But I've taken home the gold in like scramble tournaments. But yeah, no, I will never have 300 wins as a basketball coach or an anything coach, honestly. So
yeah, I have 2 medals. I have 2 medals to my name, and they sit in a box somewhere.
In a box. Okay, we're like losing viewers and getting viewers back.
Let's do Denver. Denver's up next. We're going in no particular order except the Summit League website, the standings as they sit through games tonight. So
which is in order.
Yeah. Wait, okay, did I say in no particular order? Bro.
Yeah.
Rain today is
you're not even drinking. I'm the one drinking. Okay. Denver is 3-7, correct?
Yep.
I have watched bits and pieces of 3 or 4 Denver games. I watched them play Air Force, North Alabama. To me, it looks similar to North Dakota. Like they just can't necessarily put their pieces together, and they have good pieces. They still have Michaela Minette, who was a defensive player of the year last year. They still have JoJo Jones. Emma Smith is young, sophomore. I can't remember if Jordan Jones is a sophomore or junior too. I mean, young too, though.
Yeah.
I don't think the non-con is going to accurately represent what's going to happen during the season for most teams, North Dakota included.
I think Denver's got a favorable stretch here coming up. I think, I don't know how good St. Mary's is, but it looks like it's in Denver, a neutral site game. I can't see it.
Which St. Mary? Are we talking West Coast St. Mary or whatever the heck conference they're in out there?
Let me double check.
Moraga, California, St. Mary.
I kind of wish the Summit League website had that info next to you.
League office contacts. Everybody I know in the office.
Oh, it just, when it says preview, it just goes to the Summit League weekly tracker. Yeah, I'm not going to waste dead airspace on that. So, but anyways,
when is that game?
It's tomorrow at 7. They play St. Mary's, but then they open up Summit League play, Omaha at home.
With Omaha.
And then at Oral Roberts, which we'll get to Oral Roberts here at the end of the live. But their Big Sky opponents are at home on the 3rd against Idaho. Good contest there. And then they go on the road on the January 6th at Northern Colorado. So, I mean, it's not daunting to start conference play in the Big Sky. It's a good measuring stick, just like North Dakota State. I think anytime a team starts out at this 3-7, 4-7 mark with some close losses, some bad losses, but some close losses too. It's good to get off on the right foot, and at least you're showing progression. You always want to end the season right, playing your best ball. So I trust Coach Woods will have the gals competing for sure.
100%. Dosha Woods is an icon to me. And she's done so much. She's been so open about her coaching philosophy, and she does, podcasts, whether it be mine or somebody else's, anytime she gets a chance. So she's definitely put a lot out there. And I know that team sees her as a leader. And I think that they will be just fine.
And Denver doesn't score a lot. I don't know, too much. I don't have every box score in front of me, but they're last in the league in offense right now, just shy of 62 a game. Middle of the pack with defense, allowing 63 points a game. So
that's an improvement. Last year,
Dosha
was the first person on this podcast last year, the first coach around this time. It was like December 20 something, right before they opened with Omaha. And the very first question I asked her, she said, I know you do research, so I'm going to get ahead of you. And I know that that we're last in defense in the league right now. And I was like, I do know that. You're correct. So they're certainly improving there.
I wonder if there's a stat with what's the stat, time per possession or something like that? Because this is interesting. So they are second to last in the league in field goal. Hold on here. It's loading in field goal percentage at 39%. Field goals attempted, they're second to last. Guess who's last place in the league in field goals attempted? SDSU.
I was just gonna. I didn't want to say it and be wrong.
But does that, as a SDSU fan who's watched a lot of their games, or is that typical? Like, is it kind of like a? Because
what's their turnover ratio? SDSU had 27 goddamn turnovers against Wisconsin. 27 is not the right number. Don't quote me on that, but it was high.
Their ratio is 0.8. Well, no, that's assist to turnover ratio. Turnover margin, they're at minus 3.7. They average 12 turnovers a game.
How is it that, no offense, Jax, I love you guys to death and back, but there were literally 20 plus turnovers in the Wisconsin game. And that was,
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I'm dumb. Again, brain lapse, you guys. It's been one of those weeks. They are last in the league in turnover margin. So they have as a team. Well, wouldn't they be first? Help me out here, Madison. So they have
I can't. I
they're
haven't looked
averaging
at that.
they're averaging 15.8 and their opponent's averaging 12.1. So that's good, right? No, that's
Sure.
bad. Yeah, they're dead last in the league. Sorry.
That's
Okay.
not great.
Dead
Yeah.
last in the league. Turnover margin.
I also did just get confirmation that Denver is playing St. Mary out of Moraga, California, which is the one that I thought it was. When
You
I
said
Googled
special
it,
guest. I'm definitely a special guest. That's for sure.
okay, let's not go there. When I Googled it, you know how when you Google like, DU women's basketball schedule or whatever, it'll give you that little ESPN like drop box. The St. Mary's game wasn't on it. So that's why I was like, I have no idea
Interesting.
who it is. But thank you to my South Carolina friends for texting me and letting me know that. Okay.
Omaha.
Moving on. Who's next? Omaha? Great. Omaha just got absolutely routed by TCU, which I mean, expected. Power 5.
25th in the country, 12-0. They lost 96-56.
Not great.
Not ideal.
Omaha scoring has not been great in general. Omaha is a team that really perplexes me because I think Carrie Banks' 4th season? Maybe 5th, but I think it's her 4th. And she's been in the Summit League Championship twice already.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they find a way to win in the Summit League tournament, and I like that. And they find a way to give SDSU a run for their money. I think a couple years ago I said I had trauma from Omaha because SDSU goes down to Baxter and they just cannot keep it together. And Omaha finds a way. So this team really challenges me and perplexes me. Everyone knows that I'm an Elena Pilakuta fan. I have been an Elena Pilakuta fan for like the entirety of her career at Omaha. And she is gone now. She's back playing overseas. I think that loss is going to hurt them in league play because she was so big down below. And I think she was better than Megan Boltzma, but she like reminds me of Megan Boltzma. Megan Boltzma progressed over her years at SDSU, but just like that kind of presence down there that like if your person in the paint is good, then you're solid. And I think that that's what she was for them. So I think that loss is going to hurt. I think Grace Cave is really going to step into a new role this season, and I'm excited to see that. Those are kind of my.
What did Denver do last year with rebounding? Like, where were they as a team? Were they towards the top?
Denver.
Or excuse me, Omaha. Sorry.
Like, are we talking about Omaha now? I don't know. It's been so long.
They're second to last in the rebounds per game. And I thought Elena, wasn't she averaging close to a double-double last year?
Yes, she was a great rebounder. That's exactly what I'm saying. If you don't have someone to get those rebounds down, all of your second chance points are gone essentially at that point. If you're not getting offensive rebounds. So
Omaha sits at 4-7 so far this year. Here's the other St. Mary. So they won by 30 against the College of St. Mary. They won by 8 in overtime to Cal State Bakerfield. Close loss to Wichita State by 6, who lost to Oral Roberts tonight.
They did.
And then they won over Peru State 92-70, won 68-63 over Texas Southern. So, I think Omaha is, again, not to sound like a broken record, but in one of those situations where I think they're fine. Let's just see how they perform in conference play now.
The first couple weeks, yeah.
Yep. They start out at Denver, and then they they host USD on New Year's Eve at 2 p.m. So
I think it's worth noting that like Peru State and CSM are both NAIA schools. CSM is in Omaha, College St. Mary. It's an all-girls school. So it was a good morale win, but I'm not willing to call it a good win. By D1 standards, but certainly good for morale to get the scoring up and like realize that they can.
Is it me or did we have a lot of D2 teams scheduled?
A disgusting amount.
Like what?
And I get before the 2 viewers that we have come at me, I understand. Nobody wants to schedule SDSU. Nobody wants to schedule NDSU. I get that. I do. I've been an SDSU person my entire freaking life. I get it. We don't need to be scheduling, like, who did the NDSU men schedule? That Christian college out of Bemidji? Oak Hill.
I think it's Oak Hill.
Oak Hills. Yeah. Like, what was it? 92-14 or like 104-14 or something?
Bad.
That doesn't need to happen. It doesn't need to happen.
And
like, those are not.
Sorry, go ahead. Madison.
I was just going to say, those are not scholarship athletes. Like, those are people that play for the love of the game. And that's fine. I love the game too. But, like, you got to at least be putting yourself against teams that are, like, scholarships, in my opinion. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I think it's a good thing that the Summit League did with the Big Sky, but I don't know if there's talks in the future to have more of that. Doesn't have to, I mean, just anything that's other D1 conferences that are at the mid-major level that are like, hey, you guys having this problem? So are we. Josh Fenton wants to be in more arm wrestling competition, like, I think it's a problem that the NCAA as a whole is what's happening is because of the portal. Like, I heard this on the radio the other day. But like college basketball is like a viewer problem, right? Like, we don't recognize a lot of names on teams because players are hopping, and that's their decision, right? What's the best opportunity for them? But like, we don't have those 4-year seniors where we're like, oh yeah, we got so-and-so, 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 and so-and-so. Now it's like, who do we have this year? And that's like a lot of teams. And like a lot of the bigger schools, yes, you have recognizable names because they're 5-star recruits, but at a mid-major level, when you're constantly getting transfers every year, but then you go and play these D2 schools or these schools that are lesser known, as a fan, it's kind of like, oh, I don't really pay attention until, I mean, look at the attendance. Probably it's not great through the year so far. That's just, I don't know. That got me thinking the other day when I heard that on the radio is the teams are unrecognizable anyways. And then here we are scheduling or having, it's no fault of anyone in the athletic departments. You got to play ball. So you got to find someone to play against. But I don't think.
Yeah, just ask UNI's athletic director. Did you see their football schedule?
4 home games. Yikes.
Yeah, and they're traveling to St. Thomas.
And Hawaii.
So they could be playing 13 games. They're playing 11. Anyway, that's football. But that just, it baffled me. Like, tell me your athletic director has one foot out the door without telling me. Anyway, I mean, I agree to some extent. I think I don't love the argument that, like, oh, we don't know who's on the team anymore, because I think that as a former college athlete at not the Division I level, but as a former college athlete who did transfer, granted, I only transferred once, but like, I think I have a different perspective on why athletes do that. And I think you have the argument that if the coaches can do whatever the hell they want, why can't we? I think it's very complex. I think that my only critique of the NCAA, well, not my only, but in this context, is that they rush their rules because we, as the fans and, society put pressure on them. So I get it, but I think they rush their decisions and don't necessarily like flesh everything out. And then they grant one kid a waiver, not another kid. And like, I don't know. It's very complex. We talked a lot about this in my sports administration class this semester. But yeah.
And I don't want to, and I'm not knocking the athletes. I'm saying from like a non-diehard fan perspective, which is, what would you say, like 80% of most fan bases, like you get 20% that are like super paying attention. But to the general fan who follows a team, for the most part, they don't have a clue. They might know a couple players that come back or might be a junior, but most of these juniors and seniors across these programs are transfer students. And so like these teams aren't like what they used to be, where it's like, okay, now we've got, like, look at SDSU's football team, and then other schools that have had this, where it's like you've got this core group of 4th year, 5th year, 6th year, I don't even know, is 7-year even a thing? But like these seniors were so recognizable. And I don't think we're going to get a lot of that in the future anymore.
I don't think so either. I guess my only like to argue against the general fan perspective, my only thing is like most of those casually identified fans were never going to be highly identified fans anyway. Like that's their thing to bitch about is like, oh, I don't know anyone on the team. Like, well, if you watched games all the time, you would. Like, I don't know. I kind of don't necessarily always buy that argument, but I understand like the concept you're getting at. Anyway, we're only through like 3 teams and
Sorry.
it is 10 p.m. on the East Coast, so we should keep rolling.
Welcome back, Jordan Blabbermouth.
No, it's usually me. It's totally fine. Who's next?
The Bison of North Dakota State.
The Bison.
The
The Bison.
This was a little shocking, and I'm going to pull up their schedule because
go for it.
I had and again, yeah, it's non-con, so anything can happen in conference play. But I still have them as a top 4 team, top of half of the league.
I don't know that I disagree with that. I'll let you go ahead and speak first.
So just looking at the rundown of their schedule here, guys, they lost by 23 to Creighton. They lost by 22. This is a good non-conference schedule. At Minnesota, they hosted Creighton too. That's cool. At Minnesota, lost by 22. They beat Northern Colorado.
Which
lost
is a big
Harvard.
team, you know.
Oh, yeah. So that's a good win. 15 point loss to Toledo, but they beat Eastern Michigan. There's that Mayville State again. Lost to Drake.
91-68 for Mayville State, for those of you that were unaware.
So NDSU's had a pretty decent overall. At Drake, lost by 10. At Iowa State, didn't quite. Lost by 30 there, and then beat Central Michigan by 10. That's a really good,
tonight,
5 and 6. Oh yeah, that is tonight. Sorry, they won tonight.
They were up on Central Michigan. I want to say quite a bit at the half. I want to say it was like 30 something to 19. It was definitely double digits though. So Central Michigan maybe clawed their way back into that game a little. But yeah, they'll open. Sorry, what was that?
Central Michigan's 1-8, so maybe that's not quite a good one. But hey,
not as good of a win as it should have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
They will open. The Bison will open with USD in Verm on the 29th.
Damn mirrored schedules.
Mirrored schedules.
Hey, shout out to NDSU's social department on the whole men's game in Fargo on the 29th, and use the code playoffs to get a discounted ticket.
That was hysterical. So for those of you, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you tell the backstory.
I was just gonna say, for those of you that don't know, it is obviously FCS playoff heaven right now for us mid-major football fans. And USD and NDSU played, was that third round? Third round.
Yeah, third.
Because USD got the first round bye. Yeah, something like that. They played in Vermilion, and allegedly, apparently, I am not going to take a side. What had happened was USD was trying to get tickets out to their donors, season ticket holders, whoever had first go before they went on sale to the public, and allegedly used the code playoffs, which is maybe not the smartest code to use. And apparently NDSU bought up a bunch of tickets. Everyone was pissed. The ticket office then canceled those tickets, and so on and so forth. And then, proceeded to get routed by NDSU. Certainly not USD's best showing in that football game. So fast forward, NDSU hosts USD up here. It was men's, right? On the men's side for basketball.
Yep.
On December 29th, to open up Summit League play. And NDSU, made a joke using the code playoffs. So
we had quite the interest in a fan bus because there's still plenty of tickets left up in Fargo for the game. We had plenty of interest for a fan bus until it was mentioned that it's a mirrored schedule. So they want to keep all the fans to go to the women's game if they can instead of driving up to Fargo. So another reason why mirrored schedules kind of suck.
They do suck, but what are we going to do? I just don't see a path to I know that the league office doesn't see a path to non-mirrored schedules. I just don't see it
They
happening.
changed
I
the
think
volleyball Summit League tournament dates. We complained enough about
they
it being
did.
literally over Thanksgiving.
They
Maybe
did.
if Mark Wendt tweets a little bit more
Maybe.
about it.
I remember I asked Fenton about that at NCAA basketball last year at Virginia Tech. I said, "Are you going to change the volleyball schedule?" And he's like, "We're thinking about it. Do you think we should?" And I was like, "Yeah." And honestly, for me, it sucked because had it been over Thanksgiving, I would have been able to go this year, but I I couldn't go because it was I couldn't miss class on that Monday. Otherwise, I would have been fine. But
I think it was me because I went to the match against NDSU was the only one I could go to at the Summit League tournament, and I went and they lost. And then I go to the football game and they lost. Wow, it is me. Anytime I go to a Summit League game, we lose.
you just got to stay home and watch on the TV.
God wills it. Okay, sorry. NDSU.
Yeah,
So
NDSU.
I think they're in good shape still.
Agree.
Stats look like they're pretty good. Some of the losses were bad losses that are dropping like their defensive points per game down, but stat wise, they're pretty good across the board. I think they're in good shape. Once they get past the USD Montana State, those two games, it looks
Montana
pretty
State would be a great Big Sky win. Montana State's typically pretty solid.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens there. Okay, St. Thomas is 6-6. They sit at 500. I have a special place in my heart for St. Thomas. I love Ruthson dearly to pieces. She's so wise. She's been at UST forever and a day. I can't remember how many seasons. Like near 20 or over 20. I always get confused because the volleyball coach, I think this was his 21st season. So I want to say this is Ruth's 19th season. But regardless, helped them transfer up to Division I from Division III. They had a 5-point loss to Drake, which is not a terrible loss. It would have been a good win. Obviously, Valley wins are good wins.
Can we disclose like Drake basketball is not, there's no offense to those gentlemen that play football, but it is not like football. Their basketball programs are solid programs. Like, so if you can pick up a win against Drake in basketball, it's a good win.
That is a go. Yeah. For the one thing that I like to point out every year is any Missouri Valley win. I typically just say Valley, but that could be confused with Ohio Valley. But any Missouri Valley win or Big Sky win, I don't care what team it is, good win. That's what we need. They routed Wisconsin River Falls. They beat Utah Valley. They also played Moraga, California, St. Mary's, and they beat them by 14. So I think that's a good win. That's a common opponent for some of the other teams in the league. 2 losses in a row, UC Irvine and Butler. Lost big to Iowa State. And they lost by 4 to Western Illinois, who, as we mentioned, used to be in the league until their
That's 2 dubs for Western Illinois. Is JD just sweeping these Summit teams now?
He's sweeping the Summit. Man, he was up and out of here, and he came back to remind us. And granted, when I say that, obviously JD had nothing to do with, that decision. I love JD. I don't like the way they left. I think it sucks, but that's not on him or the girls. That's on the school. So we saw that coming. We just thought it was going to be a couple years. We didn't think it was going to be like the next day.
Like that.
St. Thomas also has a win over Purdue Fort Wayne, a 5-point win. Purdue Fort Wayne, who used to be Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne, used to be in the Summit League until, I don't know, 2013-ish.
Yeah.
Right about the time Kansas City came back, Purdue Fort Wayne dipped out. So I always like when I see those people who used to be in the league. St. Thomas lost to Wisconsin, and they just beat Wisconsin Stevens Point. They will open with North Dakota on the 29th.
Great game.
It looks like
that's gonna be a great game.
Home. Yeah. I think we do have some good opening matchups in the Summit League. I think St. Thomas, North Dakota could literally go either way. I probably think St. Thomas is going to take that. They're just a more put together team. They have dealt less with transfers in and out as everyone else. And their biggest loss is obviously Maggie Negard, who, after that Summit League game, when I was sitting in the presser, I can't even remember what question I asked her, but I swear to God, she looked right at me and she said, I can't wait to watch this team win this tournament because they will. And I was like, I believe you. Like, it was icy. I was like, I believe you. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. So she's obviously their biggest loss, but I think they suffer from that less than some others. So they have two really good opportunities with North Dakota and Kansas City to open up the league. Kansas City, who I'm dying to get to. Do you have any St. Thomas thoughts before I just squeeze on past?
I will try to as we move on through the season, but just haven't watched them enough. I'm literally just going off paper, which I hate when sports people do that, but here we are.
Fine. Are we really sports people? We know more about the Summit League than any ESPN announcer who will ever do like our tournament games or anything. And you know that's true. So it's
Don't even get me started on that. Jeepers creepers.
I cannot handle it. Oh my God. Okay, so Kansas City, what are they? 7-5, I think. They've played 12 games. They played more games than I think anybody except USD.
Yes.
Kansas City, listen, I know that you guys, I mean, I am biased 100%. I have family in Kansas City. I love it there. I love the Brews. Kansas City, though, I think is dangerous. Some of their wins, so they have an opening win over Bradley, who they also opened with last year. Valley win. I don't care how good or bad Bradley is. Bradley's coach, I can't remember if she got fired or suspended. That was wild, though. It was like a week or two into the season. But anyway, opening win over Bradley. There was no info either. It was just like, has been suspended. Opening win over Bradley. They had close games with UTEP and Utah State. Those games were both 62-60, actually, which is so funny to me. But they lost both of them. They had a 9-point loss to KU, which I don't think is bad. There were opportunities to win that game. So that kind of frustrates me a little.
Was that at home?
No.
There's no way. It says versus Kansas, unless it was on a neutral court, maybe.
I think it was neutral. I think they played probably in Kansas City somewhere. Maybe at what's the place? At Municipal, where the men used to play. I think it might have been there. So a 9-point loss to KU. They've won their last 5 in a row. However, some of those have been cupcake wins. They've not been great. I want to say they did beat Western Illinois, by the way. Western JD is not out here sweeping the Summit because Western Illinois lost to Kansas City. But they played, I have it up. I think Arkansas State was one. Yeah. Okay. 62-57 over Arkansas State. 50 burger against Bellevue, who they also played last year. So they must have kind of an agreement there. 68-60 over Western Illinois. 5-point win over Alabama A&M. And then they absolutely routed a Christian school out of Kansas. So they have a great opportunity tomorrow. I don't think it will. I don't know how it will go. I don't think it will go amazing.
This is a tough 5-game stretch coming up.
They have a great opportunity tomorrow and a great opportunity with the 4 games after that as well. So Kansas City will play. They'll drive, an hour and a half down the road, maybe 2 hours to Columbia and play Mizzou tomorrow night. And then they open in Tulsa with their travel partner at Oral Roberts, which that's going to be wild. I'm so excited for that. Then they host St. Thomas. And then we get into the Big Sky Challenge, host Portland State, and then go out to Ogden to play Weber. Woof. That is a wild 5-game stretch.
And then they go to North Dakota State and North Dakota after that.
Yeah.
Good test.
But I'll tell you what, if Kansas City can go, what is that, 7 games that we just said?
500 or better.
I was going to say if they can go 4-3, I'd be happy with that. I think Mizzou's a loss. I think Oral Roberts is probably a loss. But if they can get the win over North Dakota, which the way North Dakota is playing right now, I think they can. Granted, that's also January 13th. That's 3 weeks. I mean, that's post Frisco. I'll be back from Texas by then. So you never know what's. I just had to throw that out there. I'm so sorry, but I'm not sorry at all.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. Yeah, that is, you never know what could happen by that point. But I will tell you, I think Kansas City is dangerous. I think that 5 in a row, even with 3 cupcake teams in there, Kansas City hasn't had that kind of morale. I think they are continuing the momentum, or at least Coach D is continuing the momentum from the Summit League tournament. That was another thing I wanted to say. Kansas City has 11 new players. Everybody gone. Everybody's gone.
Wow.
Sinai, remember the game winner? Sinai, she's gone.
Yeah.
She's outing. I think they had 3 transfer out. They had 3 graduate, Manna, Elise, Stafford, and somebody else. Yeah, wild. 11 new players. They have a transfer from, I want to say, Grand Canyon. Yeah, Nevada. She played at Nevada and then Grand Canyon, and now she's at Kansas City. Grad transfer. Her name's Dominique Phillips. She is a baller. Absolutely wild. I watched their first game over Bradley, and 5 minutes into the game, I was like, she's the girl. It's her.
No, it's a solid program, and it has been for quite some time. They're a tough team. I think this next 7 games are going to be a good test for them, though. I think they'll be just fine.
I hope so. Sorry, I feel like I talked a lot.
I need to watch. I really kind of I need to watch a Kansas City game, though.
You got some good opportunities coming up. Also, one transfer. I mean, multiple transfers, but they got a girl from a woman, I should say. These are not girls; these are adults. A woman from Missouri State who's super awesome. Zaire Harrell is still there. Jocelyn Ewell is still there, and Tamaya Ugas is still there. Those are the returners. Everybody else is new. So I see 3 freshmen and a couple out of Lee's Summit. I see a girl from Cochise College, which is down in Arizona. I applied for a job there once, did not get it. Johnson County Community College out of Kansas. Davidson, that's the other one. Kelby Bannerman from Davidson, I think is her and Dom Phillips together. Do you remember when we started this podcast with Scott Holland, Hot Scotland on the Twitter, as they say?
Yeah.
He said that Naomi Alnatis and Brooklyn McDavid were Kansas City's 1-2 punch. They've got a new one. Kelby Bannerman and Dominique Phillips.
Say those names one more time.
Kelby Bannerman and Dominique Phillips.
Remember
the name.
Remember
Fort Minor. Remember the name. Fort Minor.
All right. Your Jackrabbits are currently 3rd. They sit at overall 6-4. They've also had a really good meaning tough non-con. So what's the lowdown with the Jackrabbits?
I've not watched as many games as I would like to. So I can't say. I've actually seen more of Kansas City and Denver than I have of SDSU. I was so frustrated with the Wisconsin game that I turned it off until it was really close at the end and I turned it back on. God, it's just not like them. Like I said, actually, I don't know if this was on the live or if it was when we thought we were live and we weren't. But Callie Tyson and Haley Timmer, those injuries sting. And I think actually it was when we weren't live. I'd said to you, it is reminiscent of the 3 or 4 ACLs that y'all had last year. When it was like the Yotes just can't, and they still competed. They just couldn't quite get all the way there at some times.
You knew there was a missing piece.
Yes. And I think that's what we're seeing. AJ was down to 9 girls on the roster at one point. I mean, there was a girl out of Minnesota that a couple of us knew of that he picked up, a girl off the softball team. I don't know if that's true. I think it is. Yeah. I mean, and they're good additions. They're good additions, but I cannot remember. I'm 26 years old. I've been watching Jackrabbit basketball since I was little. Like Jill Young, Jenny Workentine, Jenny Sonnerborg, Macy Michelson, Jackrabbit basketball, right? I have never seen, and it could have happened and I just, was too little, but I've never seen AJ go to another program in the school or sign somebody off the street. I have never seen that happen. And somebody just threw snow or something outside my window. I'm sorry.
What is snow?
I'm excited for my interview with AJ because I know he's going to be AJ, right? He's going to be even keel. Right. He cracks a smile 1 or 2 times per interview with me. I know that he's just, he's gonna say it's balance and we are who we are, we do what we do, and like that's his thing. That's his I don't think it's a cool guy act. I think he's just a cool guy. I think he's just calm and level-headed, and we don't really see him get upset. Which is so funny because like when I was at Dakota Wesleyan for undergrad, Jason Christensen, like it was a record if he could make it to the second quarter without like throwing his suit jacket. I mean, this man would be like red in the face all the time. And Matt Wilbur on the men's side too. And I love both those guys to death. They're never going to see this, but yeah. And AJ's just not that, right? But
Right.
I'm excited to chat with him and see what he has to say about the adversity, because I think that this is the most adversity they've faced in a while. You can argue their seven Power Fives last year was adversity. It absolutely was. But I think this type of adversity he's not necessarily run into.
Do you see on their schedule a quality win? So their wins are against Arkansas State, Tennessee Martin, South Carolina State, who, no offense again, not very good. Yotes also crushed them. UNI could be, that's a good one. And is Dort,
no, Dort is Dakota Wesleyan NAIA GPAC.
So they won that by 12. Was that the one that they were tied at half or down at half or something like that?
Last week? Yeah, they were. So listen, Northern Iowa is, I'm going to contradict what I just said. Northern Iowa is typically a good win. I just said 5 minutes ago that any Valley win, I'll take it. I'm frustrated though, because Northern Iowa always trips up SDSU. Like when we had Maya Sellen, Tori Nelson, Tylee Irwin, SDSU, last year, the year before, Northern Iowa always tripped us up. And this year, when we are down and out and not at our best, we beat Northern Iowa. So I just don't think that Northern Iowa is as good as they have been. So I mean, I like it. I'll take the win, but it's just like kind of a thing in the back of my mind that I'm like, really, we couldn't beat Northern Iowa when we were, absolutely murdering and annihilating everybody. But like now we can. And I hate the loss to Washington State, because playing Wazoo is always a good win, obviously. And the fact that it was so close, knowing how down they kind of are this year, they being the Jacks, knowing how down the Jacks are, like that sucks, that hurts. But I don't know. I don't know if Arkansas State's a quality win. Kansas City beat them too. I'm not sure. The loss to Gonzaga absolutely stings. I mean, they've got Creighton tomorrow, who is ranked. I don't know how that's going to go. I don't know. They could come out of the gate really hot. I think that SDSU is okay to be a third and fourth quarter team when you're playing the bottom of the Summit League, but like we cannot be doing that against Creighton. So if the first quarter doesn't go well, I think it's over for them for tomorrow night. I mean, but so that's just me.
Their next 4 games at Creighton, at North Dakota, and then the Big Sky Challenge is at Northern Arizona. And then, of course, SDSU lucks out having a doubleheader. They play the first against Montana State before the boys or the men take on Montana State later on.
Yeah.
So
good. The men have been struggling too. It's all around the league this year. I don't know, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, just when I won't get into the Yote men too much, but just when it's like, oh, maybe the pieces come together, they go to California, and I don't know, not good back-to-back games there. They play the lesser USC coming up.
To say, do you know who Bob Green is? The former Montana Tech football coach. His video comes up every once in a while. You haven't seen this guy? Oh my God. It's like a 2-minute video from a news agency in Montana put together clips of over the years of Bob Green. And this guy, I was just going to say the USD men stretch out in California. Like you mentioned, that was not great. I was like, oh yeah, it's like they just got off Willie Nelson's tour bus. Montana Tech, or Bob Green, I guess, in his coaching clips, he's got one where he's like, some aspects we played really well, and the other aspects look like we just got off Willie Nelson's tour bus. And then he was like, you want to know what my favorite play was in all these years? Punt. Most successful play we ever had. Like, he's just so funny. He was like, you win some, you lose some, but obviously you want to be a winner. My wife couldn't make it to church on Sunday. Everyone said, where is she? And I said, well, she hadn't go out with losers. Like, he's just so quick spitfire.
Witty.
Yeah. One time I got an A, my grandma slapped me for cheating. Like, okay, Bob. Hilarious. Anyway, Willie Nelson's tour bus.
All right, we feel good about SDSU's got a tough stretch, tough matchup tomorrow, but yeah, we'll just see how they continue to handle the injuries, unfortunately, and how they respond to it.
Yeah, not much more to say about that.
So we got the top two teams to finish up with that. I think that these are the two best teams in my opinion so far in the Summit League. Is we'll start with Oral Roberts and then move on to USD. But
do you want to know my hot take? Last year you gave hot takes on the Twitter Spaces. My hot take: ORU's in the championship game. Kelsey Music in her second season as head coach has ORU in the championship game.
Is it that hot? That's a warm take.
I don't know. I think, listen, ORU got picked 5th overall. I thought that was a steaming pile of BS.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at SDSU getting picked first, A, because I'm a jackrabbit, B, because I don't think that you can factor injuries and everything in. I think that for years, with the exception of a couple years of USD, a couple years of SDSU, a couple more years of USD, for years, SDSU's been at the top of the league. And nobody, with the exception of USD, has proven that they can take them down yet. So I think you have to put them first. So I'm not mad at that. But ORU being 5th, I thought was wild.
Yeah, listen, their offense, is just ridiculously good this year. And I know that I don't know the opponents that well, but I mean, even in their losses, they're scoring 70 points in a lot of these. Losing to Texas, giving up 112 is not ideal, but you still scored 74.
And they did that against Oklahoma as well.
Yep. Yeah, good point. 103-74. Some of these are wins in the 90s to the 60s. Kansas State, that's probably that's their worst loss, I would say.
Yeah.
Clearly, 59-102. But beat Wichita State.
Let's talk about Wichita State tonight. So at one point, ORU was down. I can't remember how much. It wasn't super crazy, but it was enough for me to think, okay, they might not be able to pull this out. And then Wichita State scores near the end, and then it started to get back and forth. But ORU beat Wichita State 76-74. I think that's a good win. Wichita State's in the AAC, which, I mean, I love ORU sticking it to Wichita State, even though Paul Mills is on the men's side. Like, that's fantastic. I'm not a Paul Mills fan. A lot of people aren't. A lot of people are. I don't really care. I know that some people.
I love South Dakota, and I've grown to love Sioux Falls as we've lived here. And I don't know the man, but I didn't appreciate the comments about the tournament.
Yeah, I didn't either. And I didn't appreciate was it NDSU where the post game thing happened last year or 2 years ago?
I think so.
Yeah, and I know people that are going to see this and be upset with me that have had really good experiences and that Paul Mills has done a lot for, and that's great. I love that. I think Paul Mills is a good person because I don't know him to say that I don't think he's a good person, But some of the comments he made just soured me a little bit. But anyways,
I make sour comments that people disagree with. So that was just one that even if I was his friend, I'd be like, yeah, maybe don't do that unless you clearly have 1 foot out the door and you don't care. Then go ahead.
Yeah.
Wish him nothing but success. But yeah, ORU, I give me one sec. I had the stats pulled up, but they're number 1 in the league in offense.
They are number 1 in the league in offense. I believe they're middle of the pack for defense.
Field goals, they're tied for second. Rebounding, I believe they're first. So it's a tough team. But this is what non-conference is for, right? It's like you build this, and if they can continue on this path of being a high-scoring team and being in the middle of the pack defensively and being number 1 in rebounding, they've got a shot against any team in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Players to watch: Hannah Cooper came back as a grad student. I mean, she was phenomenal for them last year. I think will continue to do that. There was somebody else, Talia Jones. She's a sophomore who came in from UT Arlington, has been big for them. And Sarah Rodriguez is back, also a grad student. She was a little quieter at some points last year. She kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but came up big for them in the tournament. And then, of course, Ruthie Udomo, I think, is going to be their star. I think Hannah and Ruthie are going to get it together. So I would love to see Earl Roberts win the whole thing, to be honest with you. Everyone knows I was a huge Misty Cusson fan, and it just wasn't working out, but I still hated to see her go. That made me sad because she poured so much into the community at ORU and the women's basketball program. But clearly, administration said we want to go in a different direction and we want to change the culture. And here we are. I mean, Kelsey Music did great last year. Yep. The women played great last year. I really think that ORU can make the championship game this year. And I would be surprised to see them not do that. I think that with the injuries to SDSU, and as a Jackrabbit, it pains me to say this, but this is the opportunity for some of these teams that have been right there and just can't get past them. I wouldn't be surprised to see an ORU USD championship match. I also wouldn't be surprised to see a Kansas City USD championship match either.
Yeah, for those that do watch this and you're a fan and you live in the town city where your team plays, when ORU comes to town, get a ticket, check them out. Not that you shouldn't for every Summit League team, but the game will be high scoring for sure.
100%. Should we talk about the Yotes?
Yeah, let's do it. Again, my alma mater twice alma mater. And I've only watched a few games this year. I just haven't had time to really get into anyone's season yet. So hopefully that changes after the new year. But they beat Bradley tonight. They were down in that game. They used a 17-0 run in the fourth quarter tonight. Their defense at times, when I look at these box scores and trends and stuff, the Yost defense is suffocating at times. And they're starting to shoot the ball or continuing to get better at shooting the ball. I think tonight's win, I think it's their 900th program win tonight. 1970. What did they start? 1972, 1971, something like that. But 2023.
I know.
I don't know.
Neither of us were alive.
as
you're only a few years old.
As I was always told, I was a fart in the wind. But anyways, they're on fire. They won 7 in a row. They're 10-3 overall. If you'll give me a sec, I'll pull up their schedule here.
Yeah, go for it. I'll highlight some people while you're. Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry. Lost by 26 to Creighton, but they've got wins over Northern Colorado, DePaul. The rematch against Michigan did not go as planned.
It did
lost
not.
By 19. But here's the thing, and Coach Kari has talked about this too. The Michigan and Arizona ones, those were a lot closer than what the final score represented throughout most of the game. It's just one of those at the end of the game, they just kind of pulled away. But those were the two games that I watched. I think it helped. It was on national TV too. But they were with
no excuses.
No excuses. I am a subscriber to the Summit League Network. So if you haven't yet, $9-10 a month, I've gotten to watch obviously volleyball, basketball, recordings of football games thanks to Midco. It's literally just a drink a month that you pay for it and you have everything there. It's the easiest.
Did they do monthly for SLN?
Yeah, or what is it? Hold on here. No,
I paid the yearly fee. I didn't know they were doing monthly. I would have paid yearly anyway. But I didn't know they were doing that monthly.
Oh yeah, we about that monthly subscription. We about that.
Listen, I know people were pissy about Summit League Network for whatever reason. I don't the whole Flow Sports debate and is it too much like Flow or whatever. Listen, it's affordable. If me as a broke PhD student can afford it and you were already paying for Midco before.
Yeah.
it's probably gonna be fine, you know.
And
I was just gonna say I'm a Midco stan. I love Midco. I think that
yep.
people bitch at them a lot for stuff they don't need to bitch at them about. I do have gripes. I would like 4 screens. Right now you can only view on 3 screens at a time. And when there's 4 volleyball games or 4 basketball games going on, God forbid 5 now, I want to watch all of them.
Yeah.
Especially in this position. So I do Midco want 4 screens, and I will keep shouting that from the rooftops. But I think that people get mad at Midco for stuff they don't need to be mad about. Summit League Network has been a little glitchy for me, I won't lie.
Yep.
But I think that's more on the school than it is on Midco. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I like that I now have access to every home game. That's what I want. I want to be able to watch all the teams. I need to be able to watch all the teams in this position, actually.
So when you're doing the mirrored schedules and you're at the game, you can also have the other one.
There you go. Which you all were doing before. So you're not mad at Midco, you're mad at mirrored schedules. Everyone was already doing that.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like in Brookings, but the Wi-Fi at the Dome and in the SCSC has gotten so much better. It's great now.
I don't know what it's great. Like in Frost. I know that it's not been, I don't know if it's Wi-Fi or cell service. I know that at Dyke House, it's not been phenomenal, and people do complain about that quite often. I mean, I haven't been back. The last time I was in Brookings was at Dyke House when we beat Montana State in the playoffs last year. So I haven't been able to get back this year because I got to save that Frisco money for the Natty. And because I obviously need Summit League tournament money, because that's literally now with Friday, it's like a week. I mean, it's $800 in a hotel easily. Oh, just geez. In a hotel for me to because everyone jacks the prices.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I've considered staying at my parents and driving, but they live north of Mitchell. So it would be like an hour 20 one way. And to do that 5 times, I can't. So anyways, my hot/warm take, according to JD605 here, is that ORU is going to be in the championship game. I would not be surprised to see a USD or a Kansas City. I don't know if it's going to be SDSU. I think the first couple weeks of conference play will be extremely telling for everybody.
Yeah. And I mean, just realistically, the Yotes, I don't like to dethrone someone. So like in my preseason thoughts, it was SDSU until proven otherwise. Then the injuries happened, unfortunately, like we talked about, but then it was USD number 2, and they're the clear-cut favorite. I think that they're the best team in the Summit League so far this year, and they're getting better. They've got, what do we got here? NDSU on the 29th, then they go at Omaha, and then their Big Sky is at Montana, and then at home against Idaho State. So going on the road to Montana, I don't know what the series record is, but that's a tough trip, an 8 p.m. tip time. But Grace Larkins is, I don't know what other players stat-wise, but to me she's head and shoulders above everyone else as far as any player of the year consideration. I mean, you watch her, and it's unreal, the level of competition she's at. And, Yotes have other players like Tori DePerry that are fun to watch too. And I am so sorry. Just won the peak performer of the week in the Summit League. She had an overtime, the 3-pointer, and the name's escaping me. Maybe it's because
was it Nicole?
I think so. It's like
Nicole Avila Ambrosi. I think it was her.
But, they're the wheels are starting to turn rather quickly, and the defense is picking up. The offense is really picking up. I mean, yeah, it was D2 schools with Dickinson State and Mount Marty a couple weeks ago, but they went back-to-back hundreds. We need to get some – if we're going to have home games, we need to have something – it doesn't matter the opponent. If you get 100, we need something free.
Like a promo. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I trust the USD folks with their
okay, so listen, that's one thing. Let me say this about basketball, and then let me talk about promos, because I do have thoughts on that. I was gonna bring up Tori DePerry, but you did. So for those of you that don't know, Tori DePerry is a transfer from Saginaw Valley State. She's listed as a senior, but it also says she was a senior at Saginaw Valley. So I wonder if she's a 5th-year senior, but like a COVID year senior, who's not listed as a grad student. But anyway, I remember seeing when she committed, I don't know when it was, I mean, a few months ago, off season, when she committed to USD, I found some of her film on Twitter, and I was like, bro, that's a good ad. And she absolutely has been. Absolutely has been.
Kendall
what
Holmes,
I'll say,
Madison. Kendall
oh,
Holmes.
she had the 3-pointer.
I needed to say the name because
Yep.
I feel bad for reposting it on the social channels, and the name escaped
and not
me.
remembering. I repost so much shit that I can't
Kendall Holmes, Summit League Peak Performer of the Week.
2 things. One that I wanted to say, when you were talking about like the wheels are turning now and it's like starting to get going, I remember, and I hope this doesn't ever happen. I know people are like, oh, AJ's gonna leave. AJ's gonna leave. He's not leaving SDSU. He's not. But anyway, that like conversation reminds me, and what you just said reminds me of when Dawn left USD, and it was like, not from everyone, but like some of the things I saw on Twitter was like, well, crap, like what do we do now? Because she came in and she, rebuilt or ignited, however you want to say, the program and your powerhouse again. Dawn leaves. Combine that with the injuries. And it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? But I think that this is, the patience being rewarded. I think that this is the year where USD really kind of gets going again. And then next year, the year after that, we see them be
my comp is dying. I'm listening.
That's okay. We see them be who they were with like the Hannah Shervins and, the Kira Duffys and all of those people that I am so freaking happy have graduated now. The other thing I was going to say, you were talking about promos. So when I was at SDSU, I was Rapid Zen president, and we were often told, by no fault of the person telling me, but by whoever was ahead, like I would say like this promo. And then it was like, you guys need to come up with ideas. But like every idea we had, it was like, well, that costs money. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. Like USD's good at that. They don't like pull that. I remember when I was in grad school, and I think it was actually the year, it was COVID year, the year after when we were doing double headers and we had USD at home. The week prior or post that, USD had a freaking bacon bar. Like they literally tweeted like, students, there's a bacon, but like literally a bar of bacon. And I was like, why aren't we doing that at SDSU? Like, what is the problem? Why are we not we get Papa John's pizza and that's fine. And I know we have certain like, I don't want to say distributors, but like providers that we have to use for certain things. And it has to get approved through Learfield. And like, I get that. But bacon for college students that are drunk AF, like, and hungover, yes, like give me bacon. I was like, I don't understand why are we not capitalizing on this? There are some other things that USD does, like buying the bibs and handing them out at games and then taking them and washing them. Like that could be happening at SDSU. Maybe not the most sanitary thing post-COVID, but like those bibs are expensive. And I remember my friends and I like coming back after COVID. We were like, these don't fit anymore. Like we ate too much Papa John's. Like I can't pay $70 for another pair of bibs, It's like even things like that. And like sending a bus to the Summit League tournament and giving them a game ticket, a bus ride, and food for like $15. And like, granted, we got discounted tickets, but having to get ourselves to Sioux Falls, like that can sometimes be a barrier for students. And so I think, I can't believe I'm saying this, that USD is like doing something well. Hopefully my dad's not watching because he's going to bitch at me after. But like, I think that USD's promos and the student section, what they do for the students, I think it's great. I think it's phenomenal. I think that SDSU should take notes. But also props to President Barry Dunn at SDSU for buying playoff tickets for the students again this year for all the home playoff games. That was amazing.
And just for the record, Sheila also does that. I don't think we're very public about it, though.
I mean, I just literally ranted about how USD
that's very expensive. Like, good for them that do that.
That's money. Yeah, absolutely.
That's legit money they're paying to have
Legit.
1,500, 2,000 students attend those games.
It's probably our activity fees, honestly.
That's true. You know who doesn't have activity fees? USD Sioux Falls. Shameless plug. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm talking about.
Because that's your job now. Oh yeah. Do you want to? I don't know if you want to like be public about that. Do you want to tell everyone how you like are in a new role, this new phase of life at USD Sioux Falls?
Oh yeah, really quick. So I've been there just over a year now, but I am at the associate director of admissions for USD's brand new campus in Sioux Falls, on the north side of town, right by the Flying J. So we're in year 2 of existence. It was the old community college, university center, USDSU, several name changes, but satellite campus, got a 30 academic programs, mostly centered around business, healthcare, and education. So excited to be a part of something from the ground up. And yeah, it's just fun. Get to talk about USD to students and people our age that might have started a bachelor degree or an associate's degree and never finished. And now this is an affordable option. So that's my plug.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember you telling me when you transitioned into that role, and I was like, that's super dope. And you get to be working with USD, which is awesome. For those of you who don't know, I'm getting my doctorate. I left my job at Clemson this summer and moved to Ohio. So I'm back in the Midwest, back where it snows, getting that PhD. So
the true Midwest, right? Not the Great Plains Midwest.
You live in the Great Plains. I don't understand.
No, that's what I'm saying is Ohio is like the true Midwest. South Dakota is like the Great Plains Midwest. When people say, oh, I live in South Dakota, I'm in the Midwest.
No, I get so mad. Okay, so when I moved here, 2 things happened. The first was, oh, you're from South Carolina? I'm like, no, I moved from South Carolina. And they're like, well, you're not ready for the cold. And I'd be like, I'm from South Dakota, you know? And then they'd be like, well, yeah, but it gets colder here than it does in South Dakota. And I'm like, thank you for telling me you don't know anything about South Dakota, because it does not. Maybe lake effect in Cleveland sometimes, sure. I'm about 40 miles south of Cleveland. But I was like, no, that's not true. And then the other thing that would happen is I would be like, yeah, I'm so happy to be back in the Midwest. And they'd be like, South Dakota's the Midwest? And I'm like, look at a map, you dingleberry. Blow it out your ditty bag. Like, yes, it's the Midwest.
Dingleberry and whatty bag?
Blow it out your ditty bag.
Oh, we are definitely at the end of our broadcast when we start.
That's from the Golden Girls. Sophia Petrillo says that in the Golden Girls. A ditty bag was like a little makeup bag or like a little bag for your little trinkets or like a change bag. Yeah.
Okay.
Your ditty bag. I said that to you in a text before. You must have just like thought I was out of it.
Like a misspelled tweet, like hops instead of hoops.
Oh my God, I was so mad when I tweeted that today. I proofread it 3 times and I sent it and it was like hops. Like, bro. Come on. Cool. So listen, here's the dealio. Jordan is not going to always be with me. I will do my best every week to be like, hey, it's Wednesday night. What are you doing? Hop on the pod. Because I really don't want to do this by myself, Jordan. I'm doing this publicly so that, I mean, there's 2 people watching right now, so it's not just me begging you.
There's still 2 people watching.
These 2 viewers are also begging you. One of them's my husband, and I actually think I know who the other one is as well. But yeah, no, I don't want to do this by myself all the time. So like, please, if you could hop on every once in a while, that would be fantastic. Because people definitely get tired of hearing me talk.
No, and thanks for having me. And yeah, again, if anyone affiliated with the women's basketball programs, players, coaches, staff, etc., watches, I apologize for not watching as much, but life happens. But I have been paying attention to box scores and stats. So next time I'm on, hopefully
we're gonna fix it. We're gonna watch.
Hopefully a little bit better insight for me. But best of luck to everyone as conference play starts. And big fan of the league and what everyone's doing. Excited to see the rest of the season.
Absolutely. And those of you who are regular viewers, you know the drill. There's someone you want me to talk to. If you want me to talk to you, if you can keep your act together on the podcast, I clearly can't. So one of us has to. But if you've got things to say, you want to be on the show, you know someone who should be on the show. If you want to be a voter, I've not been great about power rankings. I'll probably get my act together with that in the next couple of weeks. But if you want to be a voter, all you got to do is watch a decent amount of Summit League basketball every week. Rank the teams according to how you see it, not necessarily how the standings are, how the league sees it. And, we'll take points and we put out weekly power rankings. So if any of that appeals to you, you know what to do. Follow us on the Twitter, the X, whatever the hell it is now. It's 10:50 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to cut this off. But thanks for watching. JD605, any parting words?
No. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to everybody. Like PTI, we'll try to do better the next time. Good night, Canada.
PTI. Good God.
See you, Madison.